Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. Now, if you're sitting here wondering why on a Saturday afternoon do I see Sean and then all of a sudden some random person comes rolling through with a giant rig, we'll call it, for this very moment. Well, you're right. We're talking today with one of the two owners of one of the newest dispensaries be opening up here in the capital region here real soon. That is the Chronic Dispensary. So joining us, it's Mr. Ian Burke.
Thank you for having me, Sean.
Sound effects. Yeah, we'll just go with the clapping, and I'll fake it the best I can. So, well, I appreciate you inviting us in. Now, if you take a look around, folks, you're probably wondering, like, why does it seem so echoey and cavernous and all those kind of things? Well, that's because Ian and them are just getting everything together. So we wanted to take an opportunity to sit down and talk to them. You know, we see it all the time around the capital region. Up here in New York, you see new dispensaries opening. They're on every other corner now. You hear all the different laws and rules and different pieces to it. So we figured this is an opportunity to sit down with somebody who is getting ready from the ground up, open one, and figure out how they do it. But before we get into all those kind of things, let's go ahead and take care of some house cleaning here. As we always say around here, I don't have the sign with me right now, but we got sticker and a cause. If you got something you support, something you believe in, something you're trying to do, and you want other people to know about, go ahead and send all your stuff to me at Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, you name it, we got it. Website is gmail.com. So I've already sent messages about gmail.com. Oh, we do here. I love technology. But screen is frozen on my end. So I think back now. But reach out to us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, website, abovethebarpodcast.com or abovethebarpodcast@gmail.com. Let me know what you got going on, and we'll take care of it. We'll get you one up. Also got to talk about our sponsors. That's Budget Blind East. All right, folks, we're going to keep seeing how long this works. We got no Wi-Fi, so we're working off of hotspots.
Bare bones right now, bare bones.
We're keeping it hot. So, all right, so let's just get into it with Ian before we lose any more. So, Ian, you guys are getting ready to open. Like, let's just get into it. Like, I was looking at your bio. You were in the industry for 5 years.
Yep.
What did you do in the cannabis industry other than street corner? Like, was it like street corner pharmacy cannabis industry or like legit cannabis industry?
So, I mean, we definitely have our background in legacy here and there. Everyone kind of has to,
Is
right?
that the right name for it?
That's what we call it in the legal market now. You call the before legalization the legacy, and that's just because the positives of this industry they didn't come about when legalization came about. This industry has always been here. So really from about 2019 is when we really kind of had the formulation of the idea of, we knew New York State was going to go legal with cannabis. We were me and my co-founders were at the time where we're entering a new part of our lives. We really want to start something big. And we saw a good opportunity in New York where, it's a young emerging market. Markets like this, the new, the whole aspect of it rarely happens. You don't get opportunities like this all the time. So we really wanted to just take a chance while we're young and create some positive change and positive effect within the New York cannabis legal space and then beyond if we got to that point. So started in 2019. Like you were saying, but we really kind of wanted to get into more, how could we make it legal before it actually went legal, to kind of build a brand and a following. So we've been doing the clothing, our Chronic clothing line. We do seasonal clothing drops, all high quality, limited pieces. That's definitely been a big driver of what we have been doing from day one. The smoking accessories, of course, everything around the lifestyle of cannabis. So we do the grinders, rolling trays, toker pokers, lighters. We even have our own rolling papers now. So just everything around the culture. And then our biggest thing, I say, before we went legal, was our glassware. That's been super awesome. Just getting to work with a local artist up here in upstate New York. All handmade pieces. Again, one of one, limited drops. We really like to keep the quality over quantity in everything we do.
So I mean, this is definitely one of those unique kind of pieces where you're getting into this industry, and like you said, you guys are catching it from a very early point. This is kind of like Bitcoin at $20 vice $8. You know what I mean? It's still pretty damn early.
Hell yeah.
Early in it, but I'm always curious about the background to a lot of different things like this. So, going to your parents and being like, Mom and Dad, yeah, so me and Anthony are going to open and back in the day, we'd have called it a head shop. Do you know what a head shop is?
Yeah, of course. Yep.
So my dad actually owned a head shop.
There you go.
So I know all these, but I mean, how was that like reaching out to your parents and being like, so, hey, this is what we're going to do?
It was definitely an uncomfortable conversation at first. And especially at the time too, this has been a long time in the making, and we really wanted to go big from the beginning. And a dispensary was not always in the conversation. I give credit to my parents. They had a lot of faith in me. They put a lot of trust in me, where I was in college at the time when we started this. And really, they knew about it when I was in college, but they kind of just, were letting things play out and, really just letting things take its course. And once New York State officially did legalize in 2021, and the opportunity, proposed itself to me and our other founders, I had to have the conversation with my parents, like, hey, this is what I want to do. College might not be helping me at this point in my life to get to where I want to be. So maybe the right step might be to go all in and kind of really seize this opportunity. And that's what I did, while my co-founder at the time stayed in school. We both went to Binghamton University. Okay. So he stayed at Binghamton, where he could get the economic side of things, the financial side of things, really learn what we need to know on that front. And I took it upon myself. I moved back to Albany, took a risk, and just decided to build the brand here, where we had a bigger following already. We had a bunch of people out in Binghamton, but Albany seemed like the home, the sweet spot of where we wanted to be. And then looking into the licensing, we kind of decided, do we want to do dispensary? Do we want to do cultivation, processing? Because in New York, you can only do one of the two.
You can just do the one.
Yep. So we decided, we were already a retail brand. We were kind of built off of retail, and we don't have cultivation experience, especially to the experts in the field, if you will, right now. So we just, we went the route that made the most sense, and it definitely worked out. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit of our origin story.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, when you reached out to me a couple of months ago and were like, hey, I want to come on the podcast, I want to tell everybody about our dispensary and everything, I think what blew me away was the name, because I was like, wait a sec, everybody knows what the Chronic is. Listen, I'll tell you how much older I am than you, because I can still remember having the Chronic on CD when it first came out. Like, I remember owning it, and I remember owning Chronic 2000.
Oh yeah.
So, but I mean, the fact that no one had like trademarked that, no one had owned that, no one owned that name, or even thought to put that together in this type of situation. How surprising was it just for you guys to be like, yeah, we can own Chronic and it's ours?
So I think that was one thing where it was kind of an East Coast versus West Coast thing, right? In cannabis, it's all about, the West Coast they've been legal for longer. They've kind of run the game, especially out in California, referring to the Chronic by Dr. Dre and all that. So obviously it's a classic album, and, all of our, that it's a classic album in cannabis culture. So we definitely, felt that taking on that name was definitely a big responsibility, but also too, honestly, the Chronic is a huge, part of, everybody thinks of that when they think of us, but that's not actually where we got the name from. That's just what me and my buddies called it growing up. When, you had your weed, the different strains, the sour diesel, a little Bubba Kush back in the day before there was all these crazy crosses. But whenever you got some fire, like the best of the best, we'd always call it the Chronic. Like it's some Chronic. And it kind of sprouted. You could say it came from Dr. Dre, but really the reason we used it, why it hit so hard at home, is because just growing up, consuming with my friends, just having a good time. It was kind of just the word that,
it just became part of your lexicon of
Exactly.
words that you were using.
Exactly.
That's interesting. For those of you that are watching us live and you got any questions for Ian, you want to know what we're talking about here. He's one of the owners of the Chronic Dispensary here in Albany. So, I mean, right now our space is kind of bare bones at this moment. I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Do we have
an opening date?
Yeah.
Well, that's the number one question right now. We've been getting.
Right,
shout out to everybody in the Albany area. If you guys are tuning in right now, that's been supporting us along this journey. Yeah, I mean, so we applied for this dispensary license in 2023, and I've actually had this space that we're in right now since 2023. You needed the space to secure the license.
Oh, really?
We didn't end up getting the license until October 2024. So almost a full year after we applied, we got the license. So that was a long wait, definitely a grind, just hoping that we would get one, hoping that we'd get our opportunity. We finally did. Had to get our building permits from the town. The town we're in, they have a good rigorous process, make sure you do everything the right way, but took a little bit of time. So we just started construction a couple weeks ago in here, putting up storage rooms, back rooms for employees, and obviously our shelving, our nice displays, display cases, and all that. So right now we're hoping to be open in May. We don't have an exact date. We will once the build out is done. So the exact date and announcement is coming soon. But for now, we're telling everybody, keep your calendars open for May.
Well, we should do it on 5/20,
right?
And then that way you can tell everybody you're +1.
Exactly.
We didn't wait for 4/20. We did 5/20. We +1.
Yep.
We're one up on everybody. See that?
I hear you. I hear you, my man.
You could do it that way. Now, I'm curious. So I've been in a few dispensaries. I won't say a lot of dispensaries. I've been in a few dispensaries. Now, how is the build out in this? Like I guess let me roll myself back for a second.
Yeah.
When you're envisioning this, because normally you have like, hey, here's your security door you have to open in, and then somebody's got to check your ID. But I mean, this is such a big space. How did you guys imagine putting this all together?
So the thing with starting the company is we really wanted to go big. We wanted to be leaders in the cannabis industry, especially with the industry being so young. We really wanted to stand out as leaders. So everything we do, we go for quality, we go for high end. Obviously, we carry products for everybody. We want to cater to everyone that consumes, but we really want to. Our goal, our vision with this space was really to be the premier cannabis destination, not just a dispensary, but we've been doing everything around the culture for the past 5 years. We couldn't just open a dispensary and just sell cannabis. So we'll definitely have our security checkpoint, like you're saying. This room that we're sitting in right now is going to be the Chronic Glass Gallery, something that's going to set us apart from every other shop in the area. And so I'm going to give you one of our pieces.
I'm very
right
gentle with this because it looks expensive.
Hell yeah.
So you're just going to have one whole space just selling glass.
So it'll be in this space right here. It'll be our glassware. On our grand opening, we're going to have the biggest release of glass yet. Our biggest drop, most pieces. It'll be the biggest selection. You won't want to miss it.
Dude, that's a serious rig.
Yep. So what you're holding right now is our signature style Chronic Glass beaker bong. So everybody knows the classic beaker bong. We actually added the bent neck here, which is key not only for, looks cool, it feels more comfortable in your hand when you're using it, but it also adds a different level of function. It adds a little bit more air in the chamber. It adds an extra filter almost for the smoke with the bent neck. And in my opinion, they're the smoothest beakers on the market. And just being handmade in upstate New York, it just makes it that much sweeter where we can kind of...
Who makes these?
So it's made by Phil Sunling. He's the owner of Prism Glassworks in Troy. It's in downtown Troy, glass studio. They've been there for 20 years. I think their 20th anniversary was, a year or two ago. And he's been blowing glass for 30 years. So we partner with him. He's super talented, well known in the glass space as well. He's got a great reputation. And it's just kind of worked out where our brand has gotten more and more popular over time. The demand has gone up. So we've just been able to keep working with him. And he's been great to us and producing quality pieces.
I mean, it absolutely is beautiful. And I like the way that you guys are approaching this, not just, hey, we're a dispensary, because let's be honest, we've got, I know in Troy, we've got 2 within 3 miles of my house that I can hit super easy without a problem. But I don't think I've ever gone in there and noticed anything that was like geared towards, hey, here's one of our shirts, here's our hat, here's our, rolling papers or anything like that. Oh, you've already got my Aunt Eileen telling you to go for it. She was when she passes away, we will be able to smoke her.
Okay.
Let me put it that way.
Shout out to Aunt Eileen.
She teaches me how to grow. Like she tells me like, no. So she's got all the skill set. But I mean, it's interesting that you went like, why? I mean, let's be honest. Like you could very easily just sell weed, sell edibles. Like why invest in this as a young entrepreneur? And let me give you a shout out. I'll tell you when I sat down, I was talking with my mother yesterday who lives with me. And I said, you know what, this is amazing. How old are you?
I'm 23 years old.
23 years old. So I imagine Anthony's probably right around there.
Yep, 23. And our other co-founder is 24.
I want you to understand when I say I have children older than you,
yeah,
I'm not messing with you in any way. But I mean, I love the fact that you're willing to say, you know what, I'm going to go do something. I'm going to make something. This is so impressive to me that you're willing to throw caution to the wind, because now's the time to figure it out. Now's the time to be successful and enjoy it. But why not just go, hey, we could just sell weed and be weed guys. Very easy.
It's the long-term vision. That's always been the answer. We started this thing. We didn't want to be a quick money grab. The industry's young. We want to make a profit and get out. We want to be leaders in the industry, not in 5 years, not in 10 years, but for the foreseeable future. We really want to be able to build a brand that can become nationwide and hopefully worldwide at some point where, we're really uplifting the cannabis community. I'm going to say leaders a lot. We want to be leaders. We really want to set an example of this is what a quality experience. It's all about the customer experience for us. Cannabis is awesome. It's great. It's fun to enjoy by yourself. It's fun to enjoy with others, but really the overall experience, I would say the experience is almost just as fun and as enjoyable as the effects of cannabis, enjoying with people, like you grow your own. That's part of the fun. That's not consuming. You're not getting high growing it, but it's part of the fun. So we just want to create a brand that can have a good experience all around. And that's what the dispensary is going to be. You come in here, it's a cannabis destination. We're going to have our lounge, all of our clothing, our glassware, our highly trained staff that's going to take care of everything you need, whether it is the products, whether you're coming in for a specific product, specific reason, or if you just want to talk shop with us, if you want to learn more. We're big on the education and community engagement. So that's really kind of why it's worked out, where the lifestyle brand beforehand, really, it was a smooth transition. And so the Chronic brand, it was almost a no-brainer. We're opening a dispensary, the Chronic Dispensary, and kind of just tie it all in.
That's just so impressive to me. So, as a young business owner, I want to talk about that for a moment. What were some of the things that you thought were going to be like, I'm just going to start a business, this will be the easy part, that you found out were like, oh, no, this is the absolute ridiculous nightmare of it all?
I would say logistics is a big part. You got to make sure, because it's all about it as a business, you got to make sure you're turning a profit, you're keeping your business afloat and able to expand. And really, when you first get into it, it's all ideas, right? At first, I'd say the first year, 2 years was all creativity. We're pumping out designs, we're pumping out products, doing limited drops, but just trying to do as many as we can and just kind of see what sticks, get a feel for our customer base. And then over time, it's just kind of learning. I'd say the learning curve is also the most challenging part, is where you kind of have to humble yourself and really put in the work and put your head down and take a leap of faith, like leaving school and just going all in. It's really, it's a lot of different factors. So I could go on and on about what's hard about a business.
Please, because here's what I always think is a lot of people have great ideas, but they don't have great execution.
Yep.
I mean, brother, you guys are executing. My buddy Tom just said the company he works for, he's a builder, is building the biggest grow facility in Shanghai, Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what CT is, but I guess it's County Shanghai. I don't know, but it's in Louisiana. But so, I mean, talk about that. I mean, because reality of it is it's the execution part to it. Like, did you guys, like, who did you have to reach out to, or you felt was like, hey, without this person and their input from a small business standpoint, you wouldn't even be at this point?
So it's definitely about building your team, your network, right? So a lot of what we have been doing the past 3 years is going to events, trying to meet as many people in the industry as possible, people that have experience. And through that, we've built a team where we have a team of consultants, we have a team of attorneys, we have, just legal guidance, people
What's
that
the legal, like, I can't even imagine what the legal.
It's definitely, as everybody who's in this industry knows, it's a hurdle getting over a lot of this stuff. And, just even the logistics of applying for a dispensary license, especially like in New York, where they were doing the social equity at first, which we did apply for, we didn't get. And so then it was, where do we go from here? So that was one hurdle. We wanted to open sooner. We haven't opened yet. We really just had to stick with it. And then also too, making sure that everything you're doing is compliant within the state. That's a big thing that we're kind of learning now that we have a licensed dispensary about to open, is you have to be compliant. You have to make sure that you're doing everything the right way the first time, or it's going to come back to bite you financially. And then right now with our timeline, if we don't follow compliance, if we aren't in constant contact with New York State cannabis program, it's going to delay our opening. We want to be open as soon as possible. So there's a lot of different aspects that you really got to pay attention to, especially on the legal side of things.
Now, and this is another thing, for those that don't know about in New York State compared to other states, and Ian kind of mentioned this, like in New York State, you can only be one thing. You can't be, like if you go to Vermont, you could be the grow facility, the sell facility, the production facility. So that's a big New York thing because they wanted everybody to have a shot at it.
I think that was great. That gave us a shot where we're not competing with somebody who is growing in-house flower and having a dispensary. It gave a lot more people opportunity, I'd say. And also too, I think that's something that New York is going to change over time as the industry matures. It's inevitable almost, where like that'll allow the best quality product from seed to sale over time. But New York is very, there's a lot of moving pieces. Everything is very slow and the litigation and whatever it might be with the state. So, we're just banking on what we can do right now and seizing this opportunity.
So because New York requires those things, and I learned this recently, that New York also requires that the products be produced and grown in New York.
We love that. We love that.
You like that. So what is it that you like about it?
I mean, because I think it really kind of separates the legacy market from the legal market, and it gives New York a chance to be its own, to have its own identity. Everybody's always talking about the West Coast pot, the Colorado, the Washington, Oregon, all that. New York, in my opinion, has the biggest cannabis culture on the East Coast, 100%, maybe even in the country. And just forcing businesses, dispensaries in New York to only work with New York growers, cultivators, it gives New York that market a chance to make it stable. We haven't been legal for 10, 12 years, or it might be. We need our own time to mature and grow as an industry. And I think, in 20 years, when it's federally legal, a lot more, countries around the world legalize it, New York is going to be recognized as one of the biggest, cannabis hotspots in the world.
But you don't think like you're missing out? Like I always, like I go to Mass.
Yep.
There's a brand called Betty's Eddies.
Yep.
Have you ever had a Betty's Eddy?
I haven't, but I've definitely heard of them.
Like, I just wish they made candy.
Yeah.
It's the best candy flavors I've ever had. They're so good. You don't think we're missing out, like being able, like for somebody who like, hey, maybe it's that, my age who's like, look, I never did this. I want to try something. And their friends like, hey, you should try this. But, oh, well, my state don't have it. I'm limited.
So I would say one thing that everything that you can get in other states, you can get in New York. It's just going to take some time. There's always plus and minuses with everything, right? Like the plus is what we just discussed, where New York can mature. The negatives is we get a lot of people that are going to come and say, do you have this Cali brand or this Massachusetts brand? And that is a negative where we aren't carrying them. But at the same time, when New York matures, when we get 5-10 years down the road, there will be comparable products to any state. Cannabis isn't that hard to grow. Obviously, once you have the formula, once you mature a little more, it's definitely, a smoother path. But for right now, I think, it'll be good for the long run. Maybe short term, there'll be some aches and pains, people looking for other brands, but in the long run, it'll be a better play for New York State and every other state that has its own legalization, regulations and all that.
Now, how about when you first started to have to deal with vendors?
Oh,
what has that been like?
We love all of our vendors.
I listen, you always got to say you love your vendors. I have my own vendors in my business, but what I mean though is like you got to. I mean, I imagine a new dispensary you open up, you're getting bombarded by everybody. Well, take this, take that, try this, try that. Like, how do you even vet something like that out? And especially in this, because look, I can only eat one edible before I need to go lay on the couch here.
100%.
Like, how do you even vet those products out?
So a lot of it is doing your due diligence research. You can learn a lot.
I could be a researcher if you need me.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I want you to know that.
We have plenty of volunteers for that, for sure. I mean, but even just getting to know a company or a brand or the people inside is really big on us. If it's good people running the company, if we feel they're genuine, we'll give them more of an opportunity than someone who's acting too corporate or this or that. We really want to support our local New York farmers. Okay. And then also too, it's kind of one of those things where we have a good team that's been experienced from the legacy market, where we know what fire pot is, we know what fire weed is, a good edible, a good vape. So it's really just about making sure that you keep track of everything. We have shared notes with the whole team, where we have the list of every
This is
single
what we dig, huh?
Yeah, exactly. A review of every product. And then honestly too, it really comes down to when we open, we want to carry what our customers want. We want to make sure that we cater our menu to, we'll give it our best shot at first. We'll put the best products forward. And then over time, if people are asking for a brand that we don't carry and we're getting a lot of requests, we're here to serve our customers at the end of the day. It's not all about what the owners want. We want to serve the community. So we plan on having a great menu with, as many $20 eighths as you need, but also the higher end and everything in between. We really want to have a good selection, because when you come here, you're expecting the premier cannabis space of the area. We want to have the premier menu as well.
You just kind of made me think about something here. That's why I was smiling as I was tilting my head here. It's like, now because you're pushing, you have your glassware. Are you going to be more focused on flower? Or like, is that going to be more of your drive? Like, have you had like an identity kind of thing where you're like, hey, this is where we'll have the edibles for people who want that, but you know what, we're going to drive these kind of products?
I'd say we're not going to favor one over the other. I think something like that kind of depends on, if we have, say, 50% of our sales are flower over the first year, the year two, we're going to spotlight, the flower. But I mean, really at the end of the day, I think what's most important to us is spotlighting the businesses that are doing it right. The businesses that we align with the best. Whereas, because we're going to have displays in here, the windows will be wrapped, the walls will be lined with products. But really, if you want a good display, a premier spot, one, you got to talk business with us. It's business to business relationships, but also two, you have to have a brand that's worth our time to display, and we're really proud to show off like that. So I wouldn't say we're going to favor products. We'll have everything you need. I'd say it's more about what we're really going to showcase is the companies that we align with. Like, for example, I'm going to give a shout out to Dank by Definition. They're one of the most popular flower brands in the state, and they have other products. I know they do edibles. I think they're trying a vape very soon. But those are guys that we've been able to, we've done a collab photo shoot with them with our glassware and clothing brand. We've done events with them. So, and they're really doing good things in the space and really pushing the envelope for brands in New York. So, they're going to be one of the people that we see what they're doing. It's the same vision that we share for the long term with cannabis in this state. So yeah, we would love to feature something like that. And there's countless out there. I can't give them all a shout out because there's so many out there, but just wanted to shout the guys out because they're doing, they're kind of an example of what we really want to highlight here in our dispensary.
And look, folks, if you're just joining us and we're talking with Ian from Chronic Dispensary, I didn't realize it, Ian. We didn't put your name up there. Ian from Chronic Dispensary. And look, take your phone out and start sharing this, folks. Share Ian get their opportunity to grow this. Gets out there, stuff. Gets out there. Take that time. Do a quick share. Do a quick follow. Let them know what's going on. You can find Ian and his people on Instagram under Chronic Dispensary. Give his Instagram a follow. He's got a nice little start to his following already. So do all those things. Help a man out. Get him moving in the right direction. On opening day, make sure you're coming down here. So now I'm curious about, I want to stay with product for a second because I think, let's be honest, product is what it's all about. That's what people want to know about. I would be the guy who would sit here and talk to you about every little business related aspect of it because I find it absolutely fascinating because, you're going to learn about HR, about payroll taxes.
Yep.
As I lovingly call it here in New York, extortion fees, which is sales tax and all those kind of things. But have you guys, and I'm curious between you and Anthony, because you guys are the end all be all in all conversations is the two of you.
Yep.
Have you guys run into a product yet where you're like, you love it and he hates it or vice versa? And how do you settle those?
Yes, we have. And we've even gone over stuff like that with our own products, right? With our own R&D. It's really just about kind of, in business, there's always going to be disagreements. There's always going to be, I like this, I don't like this kind of thing. But it's really just about finding what works best for the business. We're not putting our egos first. If I like this product, Anthony doesn't like this product, but the customers don't like this product, that's what it's all about. Right. So I hear you 100% where, those things happen. But at the end of the day, we don't argue over the small stuff like that. If it's something that we think, if it's worth the try, worth a shot, we're going to go for it.
I mean, is it like a game of Mario Kart to see who wins? Like that's where the product, like, I mean, it's gotta be something. Coin toss, there's nothing.
For like which products we carry.
Like if you guys are like down to like, shouldn't we product? There's no like, there's nothing.
I mean, that comes down to can that company
Rock, paper, scissors?
I mean, yeah, you know, you never know. We like to keep it, you know, relatively, you know, light. You know, we don't like to think too heavy on these things. You know, like I said, it's about the customers, but also too, you know, if we're on the fence with the company, what's our relationship like with them? Are they someone that if we reach out, if we sell them fast, are we going to get them back? You know, are they going to be able to fill our customer demand? And also too, you know, is it something that we feel proud of? If it's a product we're on the fence with, and we kind of get that gut feeling where we're going to get some unhappy customers with this, we're not going to either continue to sell it or even begin to sell it in the first place. No, we really listen to the people. Our company, our brand is all about the cannabis community as a whole. And, you know, we really like to make sure that, you know, when it comes to things like that, we're listening to the customers and our own intuition. You know, we know what's good, and we want to be genuine with the products we put out. We're always putting out the best foot forward. So that's definitely the mindset we have when it comes to choosing products. And also too, you know, how good was their presentation? How much do we know about the product too is a big thing, right? You know, it's all about education in the space. And if we love this product, but we don't know a lot about it because they didn't include a lot of information or this or that, it might not make the shelves just because we're not going to be able to articulate the best, you know, education from an educational standpoint, the best way forward with our customers coming in.
I mean, I just can't even imagine. You guys are, I mean,
it's difficult to choose. Definitely difficult.
I mean, between products and then setup, and then, I mean, let me see some of these. Like you got hats,
yeah,
like the hats and stuff like this. Like, how do you turn around and like determine like, hey, we're going to keep carrying the fluffy hat? And I mean, I guess that's what I would call it. It's fluffy on the top.
Yeah.
Like, how do you go from like, hey, we're going to keep carrying this. Oh, by the way, you know, Jimmy just got hungry and we didn't know he ate an edible before work and just crushed the staff edibles. Like, how do you go through all these things? Like, I mean, have you planned for that? Do you have some? Well, let me ask this question: do you have somebody that you know already? You're like, hey, this is our HR function person. They're not involved in the weed world at all. They could give two shits about the weed world. Their job is to make sure that this place is, you know, personnel is taken care of.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we're doing right here. So we are going to have a great in-house staff, a couple founders on the staff, a couple people that we've recruited from outside of New York State, just in the cannabis industry in general, to kind of give this place a real complete, you know, experience all around with everybody that's here. But we do outsource things as well, like our financials, for example. We are outsourcing. We're not bringing in an in-house CFO or CPA, because a person like that, we don't want to have a vested interest in the company where, you know, it'll affect them directly. We want somebody to have a third party point of view where they're going to do what's best for the company. And in that way, not only is it going to keep us humble, it's going to keep us, you know, making sure that we're doing what's best for the company. But I just think overall, in general, it keeps us, you know, our integrity there. It just keeps the business functioning like a business. You know, it's really important when you get into something like this, where you have to be so in tune with it. Personal, you know, you have to be very personal with it. Everything has to be authentic from the heart. But then at the same time, you have to remember, like, take a step back. Like, it is a business, and what's best for our customers long term is us staying in business and being able to keep them happy and keep supplying them. So, yeah, with our HR and our financials, we're outsourcing it because also it's an experience thing, right? We want to have the best experience in the team as well. So our team has been great thus far, and I can't wait to open up and officially start working with everybody.
Brother, I love your approach, like realizing that and realizing, like, you know what, this isn't what we're good at. This isn't my thing.
Got to be modest. Yeah.
This isn't my thing. This isn't what I'm good at. Let me hire somebody. And you know what you also find from business owner to business owner? You're not paying for that person's vacation time. You're not paying for that person's overtime. You're paying for them when you need them. And that's it.
Yep.
That it's a beautiful thing about it. Now, when you're international, and then you need those people in house. But for now, you can be like, look, I need you for 5 hours a week.
Exactly.
That's all I need you. You know, I need you to go fire somebody for me. I just need you for those 2 hours. Go address that situation for me. That's smart. In the capital region, we have huge numbers of those things.
Yep.
How about networking? Like, what is, I mean, obviously we don't get NECAN anymore. We used to. We got it for 2 years in a row, and then they stopped coming up here. Last year was hard.
What's going on with that, Nikan? Why didn't you come back to Albany? This is the best. I mean, outside of New York City, it's the best cannabis community in New York State. Like, come on, let's bring it back.
Did you go last year?
I did go to the Syracuse one.
I went to the Albany one last year.
Oh, yeah. We were vendors there.
Oh, were you?
I don't know if you remember, but yeah, we've been to the two. They did 2 years in a row, and then last summer in 2024 they did it in Syracuse, and this year I assume they're not doing it in Albany again because you're saying that.
Yeah, because I get the emails from it.
Yep.
And
well,
I thought last year was bad.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, are you talking about the Albany one or the Syracuse one?
Albany. I didn't go to Syracuse. I went to Albany.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Nikan, it's tough. Like with big business, because Nikan's a business to business, I would say, first kind of convention where it's really for like people like me to meet cultivators, or cultivators to meet the processors with the, you know, with the equipment they need or whatever, or the live soil or the lights for their grow op. Nikan's more catered to that, and we actually we got our start. I'd say our biggest official event was Nikan in Boston in 2022.
Oh, nice.
And that's where I met our current COO that's going to be coming on for the dispensary. That we've met, you know, I mean, just that's one great example that worked out for us, where I was able to build a relationship and keep in contact. And then eventually, you know, we shared a vision where we wanted to expand in New York. But just in general, those conventions, I'd say, are a lot better for the business to business, because they're vital. You know, it's really hard. There's no database where I can look up every company that we should be working with. So going to conventions like that are definitely, it's better for the business to business. What we need in New York, and it's slowly coming on, are legal events that are better for the consumer. And actually, I want to give a sneak peek. So something we're working on behind the scenes right now is a Chronic Cannabis Fest, or Chronic Fest. We haven't decided the name yet, which we're hoping to launch later this summer, early fall in Albany. It's going to be, I'd say, one of the biggest cannabis events in New York State, all legal, focused around celebrating legalization, educating the consumers on the brands they have out there, the companies they have out there, and just overall, you know, just being in touch with the community. It's all about the community in cannabis, and you know, we want to announce that we're working on that. Nothing confirmed yet, but we're working on finding a venue and finding the right people to partner with to make that happen. Because, like you're saying, Nikan is I'd say it's one of the biggest in New York State, but it's not great for the consumer. We want to start, you know, a trend. We've done great events in the past, like for example, Radio Woodstock in the Hudson Valley in Woodstock, New York. They hosted an event a couple of years ago called Canistock. Great vendor event. We attended. We were sponsors. One of the best events I've ever been to for cannabis, and it was all about the community. It's all about the people meeting the businesses, because it's a person to person. At the end of the day, cannabis is all about the people to people interaction. So just shout out to Canistock, where they kind of really were the first pioneers in New York that did it legal, where they did it the right way, where it was organized, it was fun, it was professional, but at the same time, it really was a good community event. And that's we want to try to recreate something like that this summer.
So I mean, so the networking, then obviously, you know, networking is huge. And I didn't think about it till you just said it, that cannabis is a very social thing, like social drinking.
It's all about the people.
There's a social element to the cannabis side. How about from a networking though? Have you tried, you know, as a business owner now, you got to get involved in networking and things like that. Have you tried to do that? And if you have, what's been kind of the response when you show up to like the Albany Chamber of Commerce events and you're like, yeah, hey, we own a dispensary. Like, what has that reception been like? I'd
say being in cannabis, especially if we're going to networking events that are outside of the cannabis realm, because, you know, within the cannabis realm, it's all about networking. It's all about making, especially in a young industry, it's all about building those relationships. But just honestly, like, cannabis is a hot topic right now. Even though it's not getting all the media buzz like it was 2 years ago, it's still a hot topic. When you know, for example, me and Anthony were at a Town of Colony chamber event recently, and it was great meeting all the business owners there. And you could tell they were thrilled to have a professional dispensary come into town. It's like, you know, everybody gets excited about it, whether they were consumers or not. It's still a business. It's a young industry. And I think a young industry people are excited about. So just being in cannabis has always been a little leg up, where people want to learn more. They want to talk to you more, whether or not they're a consumer or, you know, whatever field they're in. So I say that the networking it's been just the fact that we're in cannabis that's given us an edge up and making it a little smoother, and the conversations are going forward. And especially when we're doing a lot, where we're working hard and we have a lot to show for it, it makes those conversations even easier.
I guarantee, like, I just can't imagine people, other business owners. I know the fascination I have with something like this, you know, you're part of the spokes on the wheel here.
Yep.
Like, I can't imagine people not being like, dude, tell me all about it. How do I get involved? What's some of the crazy questions though you get from other business owners? Because I know I have ones in my head, but I haven't asked them yet. But what's some of the wild things that people have asked you that you're like, really?
I mean, I'd say a lot of it's our age. It's us being so young. It's like people are usually, when we're telling them, okay, we have this going on with the lifestyle brand, and it wasn't as shocking to people. There were still a lot of people like, hey, you're young. But now that we have an official business going forward, and it's very surprising to people to see young entrepreneurs getting into it. But at the same time, we love it. We love a good underdog. I wouldn't even say underdog, but people just almost not taking us as seriously, especially before we were licensed. Before we had our license, we were talking about what we want to do a dispensary. People wouldn't take us as seriously as we wanted to. Now that we're there, I'd say the biggest questions are like, how are you doing this so young, and all that. So that's usually the craziest questions. The absolute craziest questions will come from our customers at events, where they come to the table and they're asking this or that. They're asking if they can buy X amount, or we get tons of crazy questions at all the events.
Well, give me an example. Like when you say buy, like, are people like, dude, can I buy a brick? Like,
yeah, we've gotten all types of products, all types of other drugs and all that. Obviously we're very straightforward, legitimate business. So it's always fun. But that's part of it, right? You want to get to know people, and everyone has their own perspectives, their own walk of life. And so that's what's so great about cannabis is it's a bond that you'll share with a complete stranger. Where they'll come to their table, maybe they don't even smoke weed, but they're just interested. You both share that interest in cannabis. So I mean, we get oddball questions all the time. But we always have answers for them. That's the good part.
How about the 800-pound gorilla in the room? And this is always the Fed side to this. Like,
Yep.
like how do you address that, or how do you like keep calm? Like, hey, because federally, I can't believe how many people I've talked to, and I'm like, they're like, it's legal. I'm like, no, it's decriminalized in New York State. It's not legal because it's still federally illegal. Yep. How do you approach that as a business who kind of walks that line?
So it's all about, obviously listening to our attorneys, our consultants. And at the same time, it's personally from someone in a legal state. If you're in a legal state, you want federal legalization to take its time to play out, not happen as soon as possible, because once that happens, the floodgates open for the big money corporations to come in.
Philip Morris is going to have their dispensaries, right?
Exactly. And then think about people who are outside of, they're in illegal states. That's where it kind of like, but just in terms of making sure banking was a big issue, there's not so many banks that people can't work with. Just make sure you do your research, make sure that what you're doing is allowed, well informed, because like you're saying, there's a lot of things that could get you in trouble if you're not paying attention. So it's just about having the right team and making sure that you're doing the right things.
I mean, it sounds like you guys are doing all the right things, and we're getting fairly close here, folks, to closing up the bar. We've got to do our New Scotland Spirits last call here. If you're looking for a spirit that's as bold and rich as New York history, New Scotland Spirits is crafting exceptional, locally sourced whiskey that tells a story with every sip. From grain to glass, we honor tradition while pushing the boundaries of flavor. Whether you're a whiskey connoisseur or just starting, there's a bottle waiting for you. Raise your glass to a true craftsmanship. Find New Scotland Spirits near you, or visit newscotlandspirits.com to learn more. New Scotland Spirits, where history and flavor meet. Listen, there's a collab for you.
Oh, yeah.
I know Jesse. We all know Jesse.
Yep.
You can't not know Jesse if you're in this area.
Exactly.
Like, you could do a collab.
Oh, 100%.
Who was it? Somebody I just saw. One of the big liquor companies, has a like cannabis infused.
They might.
Liquor.
That's one thing, like you're saying, when we're talking about what we can and can't do. I mean, I know at first, like right now, I don't think like our products in store, we can't sell alcohol in the dispensary, but there's countless ways to collab. We actually reached out. Jesse so we did an event 2 summers ago, 2023. We did an event, and Jesse, we couldn't make it work with the schedules, but he was going to come to the event. So we're all about working with other businesses outside the cannabis space. We understand that, yes, we want to focus on cannabis, but a business is a business, and we want to integrate with as many different walks of life as possible. And yeah, 100%. There you go. Yep.
Yeah, I knew it was out there. Lucky Stash hemp infused tequila.
Yep.
There's one for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, when that happens, we'd love to make it happen. And just going back on what Jesse's doing, he's all about, supporting local business, being proud that he's from the area with New Scotland Spirits. So, he's somebody that we kind of look up to in a way, in terms of he's keeping it local. He's making sure that he's taking care of his community and really giving back. And so, we would love to collab with them and any other business around the area that is, going forward with making sure that they're putting the best foot forward, not only just for themselves, their business, their customers, but for the upstate New York, Albany community.
I mean, I guess I never thought about Albany as a big cannabis culture kind of a place.
Well, that's because I don't want to throw any shade here, but that's because, once we open, you'll be able to feel the presence a little bit more shops open. Once the industry needs a little bit more time to kind of flourish, but once it really does get to that peak, you will really feel a heavy presence in the Albany area. I mean, even now you see billboards for dispensaries up on the highways around here, and it's slowly growing. But I would definitely say that Albany is a great place to be right now, especially in cannabis, and there's plenty of opportunities here. You see, there's probably 10, 15 open within a 10-mile radius from here. There's a bunch.
Well, and I guess that kind of, I mean, not to go back to this, I know we've got, and again, folks, check out Chronic Dispensary, Albany, New York. They'll be opening up. Hope everything will be in May. I mean, you got big rigs like this. I mean, I don't know else what you would call a bong like it's other than a rig.
Yeah.
I mean, that's monster right there. You got hats. What's over that there in the corner?
Yeah, we got some rolling papers here as well. So
now we going with true, like old school zigzag style rolling papers, or are you going with the cones?
So we actually partnered with Ziggy. They're pretty big in the rolling paper space, and so we are doing cones. Show the camera here.
I didn't want to tear your box open.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, so these are actually they're organic hemp. We went with the king sized. They're the connoisseur pack, we're calling them. They have the filters included, just kind of a quality, consistent, reliable rolling paper where I love them, because my biggest thing with other big rolling paper brands is you kind of taste too much of the paper, doesn't smoke the way you want to, whatever else. And so these are good. They're organic hemp. You really get a full experience where you can taste the flower when you're smoking it. They're a good just overall experience when you're rolling up. And so I really like them. And this is our first generation, our first version, if you will, of these rolling papers. So we're definitely going to expand into other lines in the future, cones, whatever you might have you. So, it's just part of what we do.
I'm lazy. I just want an edible.
Yep.
I don't want to put any effort into it.
I hear you. Well, we'll have everything you need, from the edibles to the rolling papers to the flower, when we're here. So
have you seen the straws? Have you done the straws?
Tell me more.
Oh.
Is it like the straws that come with the powder inside, where it's infused? Yeah, where you can mix it with your drink. Yeah, I love a good. I mean, I would almost classify that as a tincture. I love a good tincture. Me personally, I mean, the edibles for me, I love a good edible, but it's very situational. It's a very different experience, even just the effects. It's very different. So for me, like, I love a good edible, but I dabble a lot more in the flower and the vapes, I'd say myself. But I have some, great stories of back in the day, back in college, high school, just, taking too many edibles. Everybody has those stories, and they're awesome. They're great.
Now that's one thing I noticed. Like, you always hear, like, if you listen to Joe Rogan or any of those guys, which I don't know why you would listen to them and
not above the bar. Yeah,
I'm just saying. But you hear them talk about, like, what's the guy? I can't think of the other comedians, but like the stars of death. Like, some of these edibles are out of control.
Yeah,
like 1,000 milligram edible, 100 milligram edible. Like, if you didn't know it, folks, 10 milligrams is considered as functional dosage. Like you can get good and solid off of 10 milligrams. And like, do they even carry any? Do we even have anything like that here in New York? Like these big crazy numbers, or is there limits on that?
I mean, there's definitely limits. I'm pretty sure you can only have 100 milligrams in a package in New York, but that's what's so good about legalization. One of the underrated aspects is what you're consuming. Back in the day, you get a 300 milligram edible. Who knows, a 300 milligram candy bar, or something, your buddy makes brownies. How do you know how much is in there? How do you know what to dose? So really the good part about legalization is it's more catered to the patients, the consumers, where you can dose it properly, where you can get the effects you want from an edible, but you're not accidentally overdoing it. You can kind of stay consistent, where I know people that like to take edibles in the morning, helps them function, but they're going low dose. You don't want to take 100 milligrams. I mean, maybe you do, but you don't want to take it before work. You just want to
be an astronaut.
Yeah, exactly. So
now you just mentioned something, the patient. has the medical marijuana gone out of New York? Is that done?
No, there's still medical. There's actually a couple in the Albany area as well, a couple of medical dispensaries, and it'll always be there. And we love the medical side of things. You know, cannabis is so underdeveloped
Well,
right
what's
now.
different though than between what you do and what they do?
So I don't entirely know all the details on the medical side of things. I'm pretty sure they can carry less products. Like there's more options at a recreational dispensary. Obviously, I'm pretty sure you can apply for a med card. I think you need a med card to go to medical. I might be wrong on that.
It would make sense that you would.
Maybe not, maybe you do. But really, what we've been lobbying for in the past couple cannabis control board meetings that I've been to, I've advocated for making sure that, because right now in New York, medical patients don't get a tax benefit from recreational dispensaries, only medical dispensaries.
Really?
And not only does that kind of create an unfair competition in between the rec and the medical side of things, where now we're competing with stores that don't have to tax their customers. At the end of the day, you're limiting the medical patients access to a full array of products that could help benefit whatever they're looking for. So one thing we really want New York State to do is get rid of the taxes on med card patients. Obviously, if you're just a recreational patient, the state needs their tax revenue.
Oh yeah,
go for it. But for the med patients coming in, it doesn't really, in my eyes, doesn't make sense that they have to still pay tax at our shop versus a medical shop where they're essentially doing the same thing. They're just going in for their medicine or whatever you might have it.
I mean, that's just very interesting because I would think that at this point, like, why would you even need a medical dispensary if I can just go down the block and just?
I hear you. I'm pretty sure their product's a lot more personalized.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that medical side of things, they're communicating with doctors and everything like that. So it is more personalized to a patient. And also too, I believe that the employees, the bud tenders at medical shops are a little more educated on that side of things, where they know if this person's coming in, maybe they didn't get a prescription, but they're coming in as a med patient looking for something. That's one thing that we want to change at our shop, is that because not every person that's coming in to a dispensary that they don't have a med card, they're still a med patient. They might be coming in for a sore back, sore knee, they can't sleep, whatever it might be. And so our big thing at here is we're gonna have a well-trained staff that can not only handle the people that are coming in for a good time, people that are coming in on a more serious note, where they need someone to talk to sit down with and kind of understand their condition and try to find the best solution. So that's really one thing that we're really trying to stand out with, is we're taking care of everybody, the med patients, the rec patients, whatever you're looking for, we'll have it here for you.
Well, that's a great point you're making is, and maybe they don't get the med card because the limitations that New York then puts on you, like, hey, you can't own a firearm.
I was about to say, that's the biggest one
if
that we hear
you're a
about.
med patient, it's kind of like, well, go pound sand. I'll just, do what I want to do. So that's a real interesting point. Now, you've said education a couple of times and talking about education of customers as we're getting ready to wind things down here. What are some of the things from an education standpoint that you can provide to some? I mean, I'm gonna be real honest with you. When I think like, what you going to educate me on is like, hey, this is when you pull the stopper out of the bong so you can get a full rip out of this thing, man. Like,
we're great for that.
What are we talking about here for education?
All aspects of it. So one thing that we've been doing the past couple of years to kind of help, get to know our customers and really just create an overall better experience about the experience, is we've done the Chronic Glass Bong Bars. So some events, for example, we brought.
That is the greatest name ever. I love that.
Yep.
Say it one more time.
The Chronic Glass Bong Bar, which is awesome. So it's a bar that's focused on consumption, where we don't charge anybody to consume. It's more like, follow us on Instagram or enter our free raffle and you get bong rips at the Bong Bar. You get to try our glassware, whatever brand is sponsoring, we get to try their flower. We'll educate you on the experience. We have a lot of people that have never ripped a bong before that come to the Bong Bar, and we have to teach them exactly how to do it. And at the end of the day, that's great. That's fun. And that's part of the experience. And also too, just education as a whole. At the dispensary here, we're really going to focus on education on products, effects, and your needs, what you're looking for. Because not only are you educating people on, THC, CBD, CBN, all types of, cannabinoids and all that, but also too, what brands resonate with you best, what terpene profile you're looking for, what strain are you looking for? So it's really all about just making sure that, because an educated customer is getting the best overall experience at the end of the day.
They're going to come back.
Exactly. They're going to come back. They're going to trust you a little more. So that's really what we're looking for, is to gain the trust of our customers and our community with the educational side of things.
Start calling them clients.
Clients. Yep.
Because do you want to be a customer or you want to be a client?
Client always.
See, that's one of those. That's my Mr. Wizard information
Yep.
for you is don't call people customers, because customer comes in and leaves.
True.
There's no connection, but I'm connected to all my clients.
Hell yeah.
You know, they're part of my life. They're part of who I am, because that's how you keep people coming back. Look, folks, take your time. Here, a message here. Oh, I love Wi-Fi right now. Jesse a message, and he messaged me back. I said, this dude loves you, Jesse. He said, really? I'll check it out. So
yep.
I made sure he knew you guys were on here. But make sure you're coming down here. Once it opens, we'll have these guys let us know. We'll keep everything posted so you guys know when it's going to open up. We'll let them throw your ads out on our pages, so tag us so all of our people know what's going on. They can get out here. Now, if my buddy Nathan, he's not around today. Who knows where Nathan is? But I know Nathan would ask this question, and I wish Anthony was here to give us his answer also. Maybe you should text Anthony and you can get Anthony's answer for this question real quick here. What is your go-to snack after you hit the munchies? What is it?
Oh man, this is a question as old as time, right? You know, I mean, back in the day, I used to make food or prepare to make food, go out and smoke just so I could enjoy it more after.
Oh, really? Like you went that far? Like you were prepared?
Oh, definitely back in the day. Even now, sometimes too, I love eating after I consume. It's definitely, you know, helps elevate the experience, get the full effect. But I'd say the go-to food, man, this brings me back nostalgic. So back in the day, I live in downtown Albany, a walkable neighborhood. You know, got local restaurants all around. Our go-to was sneak out, go somewhere, tell my parents we're doing something, and we're really, really going to smoke around the corner. You know, take a couple hits of the joint, and we used to walk.
If any
over.
of my children are watching this, I'll wear you out like a bad habit.
Yep. But our go-to spot was we finished a joint. We used to always walk to this classic spot called Pizzaroni. And as you can imagine, it's just a regular old pizza shop, but it was right near my house. It was just a good hangout spot where we could go in, just chill out, enjoy the vibes, get a nice slice of pizza, and continue on with our day. So I would definitely say that's just what comes to mind. But really, in my opinion, every food you eat is better after you consume cannabis.
Everything's a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, maybe stay away from like the salads and the little more healthy side of things. But I mean, it heightens any experience. You know, and I think cannabis is great for, you know, a lot of people say, you know, it affects everybody differently. But for me, I think it elevates whatever I'm doing in another way, just another perspective. And so, you know, I don't rule anything out, but I'd say the classic answer is going over to Pizzaroni and get a nice slice.
My daughter's a vegan. I'll have to ask her if she eats a salad. I never thought to ask her that. Now, did Anthony give us an answer? Did we get anything from him? Let's see.
I will say this, Anthony, me and him I've actually known him since kindergarten. So me and him go way back. So he was at all those Pizzaroni runs back in the day.
Guy too.
Yeah. So we definitely, I'd say he's definitely would be in agreement with that was a classic spot.
I love it. Well, look, folks, if you're finding me, Anthony, if you're finding Ian through me or me through Ian and the Chronic crew here, make sure you give them a like, share, follow. Give us a like, share, follow on Instagram, TikTok, wherever it is you're finding us at. Their Instagram, again, Chronic Dispensary on Instagram. You can find them there. Everything works out. They'll be opened up here in May. Make sure you're checking out everything they've got going on. Make sure if you're just finding us and you want to keep following us, normally it's every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Coming up this week, look, I might have to introduce you to our new guest because he lives right here in the Capital Region also, and that's Alan Baker. And we're talking marketing. How important is marketing? What type of marketing you can do, but how networking and marketing go hand in hand. What you can do, just meeting the right person. I tell people all the time in my business, I met a woman named Darcy. She now runs my SEO, runs my website, runs the podcast website, and my other business website. She runs all that, and I met her through a networking group that I belong to. That if without her, I'd be doing it all myself. So you can't beat those things.
It all goes hand in hand, right? Just making sure you're doing your due diligence, putting in the work, and the results will show. Whether it's networking, marketing, everything, all aspects of the business. You guys gotta make sure you're staying consistent and putting in that work, and the results will show.
Now, I know you binged as much of the show as you possibly could, all 270 some episodes we were up to, and we've now had 35,000 views on YouTube and all these other things.
Hell yeah.
So you know what it all is about. So if you don't remember though, Ian, get that voice good and ready.
I'm ready.
the guest always gets the final word.
Okay.
So what's our final word for tonight?
So if there's anybody watching right now that's familiar with us, I'm gonna give you guys a classic. From us here at Chronic Cannabis Company, we're signing off. Bless your lungs. Bless your life.
Alrighty, folks, be sure to push your stool.
This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.